Satnam. I'm Devi here offering a general reading in hopes that it serves you well on your journey. Please take what resonates and dismiss the rest. So still going through some of the concepts in my glitchy videos. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about storylines and timelines and then see what the cards have to say. So when you are articulating your experience or the inner narrative between your ears, what is the consistent theme? How are you speaking about yourself? And what timeline do you see yourself hooked in? What relationship, story, or memory has you wired in a concept about yourself? And I've spoken to how you speak to yourself before. So perhaps it's about you looking at others and noticing what are they consistently telling you. Like sometimes we tell people the same stories and forget that we've told them. So if someone has told you the same story over and over again, if you notice a whine in their voice or an anger edge in their voice or a word or phrase that is consistent in a particular timeline, what does that tell you? What needs to be heard, felt, and seen? And as a healer, light worker, starseed, you might be able to give space to the story that needs to be told and rewritten in a new way. So consider the timeline that's being illuminated to you and what is being called to the surface to be healed, and what is the new trajectory to put forth in this timeline, and how can we rewrite that narrative. For me, mantra has been huge. And my teacher, you might have heard me say this, my teacher, when I did Kundalini yoga teacher training, she would tell me, you're going to develop a relationship with these mantras. And I didn't discount it, but I didn't understand it until later. But just like you, like I crave a stretch or this or that, like I need to go for a run or walk. It's like a particular mantra will call out. And I feel like because it's in a different language, it cuts right through any mental resistance for me. And in my work in Thai Sophia, we would read poetry, and reading it out loud has something, is very transformative as opposed to reading it internally. So I would recommend this book, Dancing with 10,000 Things by Tom Ballas. Amazing teacher, just an amazing human being. Yeah. And aside from, this book has a lot of tools in working with our human experience, in using the 5 element theory, for example, and in this particular, also conflict resolution, how conflict actually helps us release and create resolution. But I wanted to share with you the idea of our personal narratives, and how you tell your story, or how someone's telling a story to you, makes a difference in the world. Choose the most compelling perspective possible. Live the most powerful story you can. Our personal stories are a fascinating blend of reality and imagined lives. Some of the events are true, right? And then we begin to fill in the blanks with our imagination. And it can be exaggerated by a hook from another timeline, trauma, a reoccurring theme, like we find ourselves in a consistent pitfall, right? And so then we begin to wire in a storyline about ourselves. There was one line. There was one line he had. I'm guessing this is it. Each of us have stories to tell, And it is essential to our well-being that we have a chance to tell them. That's why listening in an open, safe space that's non-judgmental is so huge, which is what makes you so valuable. That wasn't it. I can't remember which part it was here, but basically saying the storyline, it creates and solidifies our belief in ourselves. So yeah, let's get into the tarot and see that storyline there. Think about a rose. It's beautiful, just like a story is beautiful. We can hurt ourselves with their story. The thorns on the stem can hurt us. The vines can cover up things. The stories can cover up things. And in the end, there's this essence of who we are that's underneath it all. And there's the soft essence to the bloom of a flower and the time it takes to unravel that. Truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. And I noticed within myself that there's a lot of resistance in that story, and sometimes opening up to feel that truth and not to be afraid of the emotions are huge. And then it requires effort after that to continue to let a new rewiring solidify. So building that awareness to the truth, listening, cutting that cord, releasing the ties to the past, and be willing to plant new seeds. The deck kind of split when this card flipped, so let's see what's there. How are you presenting to yourself to the world, and how is the divine supporting that growth? And sometimes people like to see us in a particular story, right? And the beauty of what you're able to do probably is see beyond the story that the average person sees. And when you give space to someone to see them deeper, then they allow them to allow others to see them, or they allow themselves to be seen. You allow someone to heal and expand their potential and create a new reality, a new framework, a new step, and a new plane of reality. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of videos, and I think my ability to speak is about tapped out at this point. Change, overcoming. So in between two worlds, consider the thought of the ugly duckling, and your ability to see deeper into someone is probably because of your own pain and the way people may have chastised you or cast you aside for you feeling like an outcast yourself. And the experiences you have are an opportunity for you to grow, and then creates grounds for others to grow. So you're a bridge of healing for others when you choose to take on that role, put that hat on, and choose to open up to that possibility to transform within yourself and give space for others, like you walking someone across that bridge into a new timeline, so when you cut through into a new truth and build that new foundation in the mental framework, in the way that people are unconsciously speaking about themselves, you open up portals and timelines to allow them to traverse and open new opportunities, new gateways in their potential, and release the karmic patterns, that karmic load that was pulling them back and keeping them tethered to a specific timeline, to allow them to make new choices. Let's see what Bob Ross has to say. I also put out the deck for the archetypes. It's a little bit hard for me to shuffle But that's also a wonderful tool to find empowerment and rewrite a narrative. Karen the Mace, she writes about that. So if that calls to you or feels like a good tool for you. At one point I studied it. It's been a couple years though, so it's not fresh in my mind. Not much is these days. Pain, speaking of which, too, going back and forth between the past, the consistency theme of the past and the possibilities of the future. Which way do I go? Every day is a good day when you paint. So painting your own reality and making that choice to co-create with the divine to overcome the mental framework. Lots of swords here. It's all in the mental body. Three of Swords is about the pain. The pain is where you grow through. It's the place that we butt up against. It's the place that we tighten up physically against. It's the place where symptoms start to happen. It's the place where we start to wire to avoid feeling, rewire to avoid repeating. And yet because of that, that avoidant behavior, we actually perpetuate it. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know. The more we run, the more we fall, right? In this context, it's not always the case. Let's see what Bob Ross has to say. I think each of us at some time in our life has wanted to paint a picture. So within us, we might be dreaming of something more. Someone might be dreaming of something more, and your energy, the space that you provide, the opportunity for someone to speak and be seen deeply, you allow someone to paint a new picture, a new reality, and see a new perspective. So thank you for that. Let's see how well I shuffle this deck. I did shuffle it before I laid it out, so I'm just gonna do it this way. Timelines. They really want me to speak to timelines, like breaking free of timelines. Rewriting this narrative and painting this picture is breaking that narrative. And you are that bridge, that healer. Put on that hat, trust your perspective, because sometimes they don't even see as deeply as you can see them. And if you meet them at that place in the right way, using your skill set, you can open the door without resistance. And then sometimes when they see you, see them in the way that they don't want to see themselves, or they haven't wanted others to see them and capture them in that way, they start to deflect and put up like these ridiculous behaviors to protect themselves. All right. And so then you're like, I don't want to put this hat on. I don't want to deal with this drama. But you could be called to service, and there's a way you can do it, and you're strong enough. Just recognize that it's not you, that you matter, but you're being called to service in that regard. It's not anything you're doing wrong, or like you don't deserve to be a punching bag. Rumi's calling to mind poem, Out Beyond the Ideas of Wrongdoing and Right Doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. Be that field, or meet them there in that field. Set the boundaries so that you're not the punching bag. Speaking of the field, the forest, walking through timelines to open up to new trajectories. Venom, I don't really want to speak to a vaccine, but think about, I'm actually like seeing in my mind's eye, like someone milking a snake for their venom. So the same thing that causes the pain is the cure. Going towards the behavior, or investigating the behavior, feeling the pain is the cure for the pattern that is consistent. And looking at what doesn't really want to be seen, because we protect it, we hold it. Like, I mean, I've done it with myself, and I see either people when I teach yoga, it's like they have pain or injury, and that like pain or injury could be gone or not as it might be in like remission rather than inflamed, but we still hold that same protective pattern in our physical form. But it requires a certain care and attention. Notice the moon highlighted in the dark. The teeth. Yeah, it's a dangerous journey in a sense to put that hat on. And yet you're more than capable of creating the platform for someone to heal. And your service is needed. Be aware of what you can and cannot take on. So I used to say when I would teach mental health first aid, like as so you're kind of like the first responder for mental illness, you're the bridge to say, hey, should get help, and here's the direction you can go. So be aware of what's within your capability to take on and how you can kind of direct someone rather than like being their crutch. Like you're not the one like picking them up and carrying them. You're the one standing beside or directing traffic. Does that make sense? Well, I do hope this served well. Sending lots of love and light your way.